And welcome back to This is Dunder Moose. I'm gonna tip this leather till it's leaning back. I wanna thank that's ridiculous. I want to thank everybody that went on a crazy journey with me this week. Jeff Rowe came back out of retirement to run something unusual. The bros decided to take on Traveler, and it was crazy and exciting and pulse pounding and violent. And we weren't even playing live. We were doing it by post over Twitter, and like I'm telling you guys, there were times when my heart was pounding in my throat. So we're going to talk about all that stuff tonight. You might learn some new vocabulary, words such as apophenia and abductive reasoning. But we're going to talk about why was this special? Why was it so crazy? I want to start off giving Jeff Rowe, acknowledge the tribal chief. I want to give him the floor, and we're gonna talk about what he was hoping to accomplish with this, and then we're gonna jump straight into what the player experiences were. Lift that fog of war, and we may have everybody here right now. We might get a few more people joining as we go, and then hopefully what comes out is how you guys can recreate this at your table. So start us off, Jeff Rowe. How did you get the idea for doing a Traveler Stein in the first place?
Okay, well, there's a couple of things playing into this. Number one, I've been blogging heavily since this spring, and then nobody was reading my blog, so I got on your show with B-Dubs, and basically every idea that I had, B-Dubs, he would push it harder.
Yes.
And then I would have to think. So it kept me on my toes, and so I was thinking, how can we explore this? How can we demonstrate this? And of course, there's you can't put new wine in old wineskins. So Trolopulus was not going to be the test bed this time for the proof of concept. Now I had been playing around with GURPS, and I thought, this might be the medium. They had some second edition box sets from back in the day. I thought there was something there. I just had weenie after weenie come by my blog and say I was wrong about RPGs, but none of them wanted to play. And nobody in the BrOSR wanted to play. I spent hours into developing stuff for something to make a game out of it, and no one came. But as soon as I started writing about Traveler, I think I was 2 blog posts in, and then immediately B-Dubs and Fluid were rolling up characters. So so that is a unique property of Traveler. When you say why now, why Traveler? Well, why now is because between me, you, and B-Dubs, we had reached a new level of synthesis and analysis with regard to these ideas we've been experimenting with for years now. But why Traveler? Because Traveler is a magical game. It's an extraordinary game. Once people see how it works, they get excited and they want to join in, and that's why it happened.
Right on. And so this was my first ever experience with Traveler, and all right, I'm gonna take a little bit of a circuitous route here, but it plays in. Has anybody ever experienced death by PowerPoint?
Nope.
You mean being really bored?
Yeah, when you go to a talk or attend something and the PowerPoint is just mind numbing. And I think one of the reasons for that is when you load up a PowerPoint, it has sample slides for you to use. And usually the first ones you see is a bulleted list with a clip art on the side. And so everybody thinks, well, that's what PowerPoint is, because that's it's like negotiating when you throw out the first number and everybody anchors around it. And I feel like the thing that Traveler is so brilliant, and I see your question in there, Moritz, and we were using Classic Traveler, the 1981 version, right?
Just only books 1 through 3.
1 through 3 only. The thing about Traveler that does an excellent job of priming is that you can die in character creation. You can absolutely grow old and die, or die violently while you're still rolling up the character. And I feel like that kind of priming for the player says, oh, this is a dangerous world. It's okay if I die. And it's very fast to roll up a new character. I'm coming off of first edition where it can take over an hour to get all, between jumping between all the books and, how tall are you and how much do you weigh and all that kind of stuff. Traveler just felt light and quick and still deadly.
You mean
so for
first
me,
edition AD&D, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
I'm sorry. AD&D is what I'm used to with the big long character creation.
If you're rolling up a character in Traveler, then you're already playing Traveler.
Yeah.
That's the
it is the game.
quality of the game.
And you're already making interesting decisions. Do I want to go for the Marines or do I want to go for the Navy? Well, Navy's good if you have the social score, but if you don't, then you probably won't get a commission as easily. Making all kinds of choices like that. The good question. Moritz asks, how many PCs died in Chargen? Did that even happen?
I had one that died.
Oh, you
I
did
did
one.
not. I got very lucky.
One guy said he was going to participate, but his character died in creation. It was on Twitter.
Yeah,
Awesome.
my first was a scout, and he died in his first term.
It's a dangerous business, the scouts.
Yep.
So that's why Traveler, and that's why now. What were you hoping to accomplish with this, Jeffro? Like when you pictured it in your head how it was going to be, and I don't know if we lived up to it or not, but what was your North Star as far as these are the things that I want to see, and these are the things that I might push a little bit to get them to happen?
Well, now the theory going in was that D&D games tend to fall into a rut of like you'll see within the sessions that the players will organize a hierarchy. They have kind of an efficient fire team play to get the objective. They want to go get the ruby. They're not really, after a while, they just stop role playing. And then with Trilopulus, we had such a degree of system mastery on the part of the entire group that if you have total player autonomy, then the players can all collectively agree, okay, let's cooperate such that there's no game anymore. So what I was doing here, what I wanted to do here was, when we talked on your show last time, we were outlining how a DM supplied challenge is just not very interesting, and a DM created NPC is almost invariably pretty boring. But as soon as you have player versus player, this is fire. This is really excitement. So the idea for this game was to cause all of the players to be the NPCs for all the other players, and then see where it goes.
Right on. Okay. I think some more of the questions I have will come out as we start sharing our stories.
I think actually it worked. It worked really well. When I was supposed to be working, I was more like this, just responding to our dubs and harmony and you. We'll get to you.
We'll get to me.
We'll get to you, Dunder.
So the game starts. Jeffro did a great job. He just rolled up a random planet using the Traveler rule set. He described it. It's all on the blog post. If you look in the show notes, there's a link to an FAQ that he posted. And if you scroll to the bottom of that blog post, Jeffro has linked all the other Moonstein sessions reports. So you can catch up with everything that happened and what he gave us. And so we all had a list of 7 things that we needed to turn in by 8:00 p.m. on Monday night. And there was a 48-hour turnaround time. So get your stuff in. We'd spend the next 24 hours adjudicating it. And then you had 24 hours to decide what you wanted to issue as your orders for the next night. Right. So every 48 hours, you're submitting stuff. And let's just pick somebody and have them go first. Who would you like to go? Jeffro, you get to pick who's going to go first and talk about their character and what their strategy was going into turn 1.
Oh well, let's give Fluid his chance now because he needs to hear this story.
Yeah, since I died first, I think
that's sort of the prelude that establishes really what this whole game was going to be about. If you We didn't know it at the time, but yeah, I think it is. So
Go ahead, Food.
Okay, let me preface it because there isn't much that I actually did in the game. But I can tell you
started off armed to the teeth. I'll point that out.
I can tell you what my plan was and what my orders were, and then I'll tell you how it turned out.
Oh, I know.
Well, you know, my plan was to lay low, and I had bribed a small army of homeless urchins to be my Baker Street irregulars and follow the other players around and report on their activities.
Oh, that would have been so cool.
Because I knew I didn't have the money to win the auction for the mercenaries.
How did you know that? Because we didn't know what we were bidding, right? It was all blind going in.
Well, I knew I didn't have a lot of money. So
I had more than Mike.
Well, I had more than I was sure I could beat Mike, but I didn't. I did not know. Everyone else looked like they had more money than me.
Okay.
I could have been wrong. Maybe I don't know. I'll be interested to see what the winning bid was. But I wasn't positive about winning that bid. So the idea was to go schmooze with one of the baronies and team up with Sky because he had a high class guy and I had a social standing of 3, so like one from the bottom, and I was just gonna go schmooze with the hired help and see what rumors there were, and also spread rumors about how Mandoff was trying to take over the world. Because my ultimate goal was to either get hired to assassinate various PCs, because my goal was to make money, not kill people, but I wanted to kill people, of course. But I wanted, because I had my sniper rifle, I wanted to do it from far away because I was weak. God. I had no strength, and I knew I couldn't withstand a firefight. So I wanted to snipe them. But also, the plan was to find a pilot, hire him, and steal Mandoff's free trader, because I figured a free trader's worth millions. If I got that, that'd be like a winning million.
Yeah, that you would have won. Man.
Unfortunately, before we even got off the ship, we discovered a low down, no good scumbag rifling our rooms. Who, even though there were 2 people that had the drop on him, decided to quick draw on us both, and survived and killed us both.
We got Macho in the group now. I just wanted to
Mandoff
point out.
So that's how my character was eliminated on the first move. We never even got off the ship.
Well, so yeah, okay. So your story plays into mine. I wish Sky was here to talk about what he was gonna do. Should I just tell mine right now? We'll go around the room with first round orders. So here's the thing that Fluid, one of the things that he pointed out is something that I've seen really powerful Braunstein players doing again and again, and that is, and this is something I learned from watching Brovenloft, is that information is power in a Braunstein. The guy who has a hook or a gimmick that can give him extra info on the others does well. So when he hired those Baker Street irregulars, that was a pro move right there. My version of that, now I'm going through these books for the first time, right? So I got, the book 1, and I'm rolling up my character, and I got book 3 is telling me what equipment I can buy. Book 1 has the weapons. And in book 3, lo and behold, I see there is a lockpick kit for sale. And Jeffro, in his orders, he stated, here's what I want from you. I want your character. And man, Traveler is so elegant. You get a 6-digit code, and that's your character's. That's like your character, right? You get. He said, so he wanted your character that you'd already turned in. He wanted to know how much money you started with. He wanted to know what items that you've bought are you keeping in your stateroom. and what items that you've purchased are you carrying about on you? Because encumbrance matters in Traveler, especially on worlds that, you know, you weigh more or less. And so I knew everybody had a list of things that they were like, this is what I want on me, and this is what I'm keeping in my stateroom. And I also saw right there in black and white that you could buy a lockpick kit. And the things that people stash is going to tell you about how they want to play the game. So I thought, what a brilliant play for my first orders for my round 1. I'm going to wait until everyone has left the ship because they're all excited and eager to go talk to barons and explore and go to town and carouse and all that stuff. I'll wait till everyone is left the ship, and then I'm going to spend 2 hours picking locks, getting into their staterooms. And I politely asked Jeffro if he wouldn't mind sending me a list of all of the things that the people had left in their staterooms for me to peruse and see which things I could steal.
Now,
Maybe
I'm going to interject here on this. This is a terrible order. I've got to. No,
I thought it was elite, man. You're saying
no.
terrible?
I have to go through 10 different emails and hand you all this stuff. It's really boring. I am not going to do this. So I used my referee privilege to say, okay, this is Traveler. This is going to be a Doomerist of Terra type scene. And a Doomerist of Terra scene would not have someone cataloging everything in 10 staterooms. It just wouldn't happen. So
they'd have a thief try to steal crap. Like that would totally the boost.
That would yeah. But no, we're so I vetoed this.
Okay.
No, not least because he had harassed me by trying to bring dumb names into the game.
All right, let's talk about that too, Jeffro.
No. We don't have to. Like I've taken all of this flack for 2 years nonstop about the Muppets that were in somebody else's campaign.
It wasn't even in your game.
I know. And
I catch slack about it too. I've never had a Muppet in my game.
It's like, can you guys behave for 1 week? No, you can't. So no.
So you want a serious name?
All of your stupidity for the session reports. And if you wanted to act out on Twitter, that was your business. But I was going to keep a tight hold on the integrity of the campaign setting and not let you guys screw it up. So,
all right. So
so you
first off, my first name, Rourke Garnett, is what I wound up with, and that is a pseudonym. He's traveling under a nom de guerre. His original name was Munderdoose Jr. because the Joy of Wargaming ran a solo traveler campaign, and he had a captain named Munderdoose, and he used my face, and he put a fake mustache on it because apparently my lip was denuded at the time, and so there was a throwback to that. So
and the Black Lodge game guys are objectively correct about this. That is really bad gaming, Dunder, and you should feel bad. It's ruining my immersion.
All right.
So hold it,
Okay.
Jeffrey. You were resentful of Dunder and trying to kill him.
That's exactly what happened. So he wanted me to, and he even told me in the chat, I hope you die first. Right? So then I give him this ridiculous instruction, and Kess gets 20 bonus made up points. Rourke Garnett was the name of the smuggler template in the first D6 Star Wars. Although mine, I should point out, had an E on the end and an extra T on the end of the last name.
But didn't you use the picture of?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I'm a big Star Wars D6 fan. So
all right, so Gabe, you get the points too because you picked up on it. I don't know how many people picked up on that. At one point I was throwing names out, and Jeffrey was like, "Heck no." At one point, I was just like Humpster McFuggins, and he was like, "I hope you die right away." So I got my name squared away, but you know what? The name did not matter because Jeffro still was like, "I need to punish this fool," and then I gave him an obnoxious order, asking him to do actual work, and he was like, "Well, let's just see." He's like, "There's an 8+ chance that you get caught trying to do this stuff." And he rolled, and lo and behold, the dice did not go my way. I think that's the only time in the whole game they didn't. Yeah. And he rolled randomly to see whose room because I didn't know whose room was what. And I wound up in the room of infamous gangster Niccolo Gotti. And so I'm like going through their stuff, and Jeffro's like, you hear the door open, and Niccolo Gotti has come back because he forgot something. And I was like, oh crap, because I'm standing there, I'm like holding, he had some like photographic computer like forging equipment. He was trying to run a forgery business. And I'm like holding it. I'm like standing there like the outlaw Josie Wales with his groceries when the team, when the posse finds him. And so it's just me and Jeffro and Sky in the chat. And Sky's like, oh, hang on a minute. I wasn't walking by myself. I had Pritchard with me, which Pritchard was fluid. Dude's got an SMG leveled at me.
Yeah.
We're in a stateroom, and I got
As
two
he
armed
should.
guys looking
You were
at me.
robbing him?
And I was caught red-handed going through his stuff. Right? So I start trying to talk my way out of it. And Fluid is having none of it. He's just got the gun on me, and he's like, what do you want me to do, boss? You know? And so I just, and Sky wasn't responding. I don't know if he was at work or what.
Yeah, he was working.
So I just threw the counterfeit equipment in Fluid's face as hard as I could, and then I drew my revolver and tried to shoot him. And I was like, I'm done. I have already lost the game because short range submachine gun, I'm going to be cheese. This thing is going to punch so many holes in me. And what happened, Jeffro?
Oh, well, see, the revolver at short range is +2, and this SMG is +3, and then I rolled for Fluid's SMG, and he missed.
He misses.
I totally missed.
And
it was a miracle.
Yeah, it happens.
The only way I won the game was over and over again miracles like that. I compare Rourke Garnett's run to Samson in the Bible. Like, he always tried to be smart and outthink everything, and then it just always went pear-shaped, and he had to grab his gun. Like, it was just how it went down. So I shot, and I hit Fluid. And how much damage?
Enough to knock him unconscious.
Enough that he loses consciousness. And Sky's not responding. So Jeffro's like, well, he would shoot you with his body gun. And so he shoots me with his body gun and misses. And then we're like, all right, pause. Let's let Sky get back in here before it goes too much farther. Because, you know, we waited until we started hearing from him again. And he's like, well, crap, I think that I would try to de-escalate. And Jeffro gave me a chance to de-escalate. So maybe this is when my journey to the dark side began. Because, like, I could have let him talk me down, but I'm caught red-handed. I just gunned down his mate, and we're staring at each other with pistols drawn. And I said, mister, we deal in lead. Pew, pew, pew. And so it was on. And so...
well, dude, you were talking about the heartbeat moments. You messaged me in between this while you were waiting, saying, I'm going to need a pickup, and I need you to hide some bodies with me.
Yes, right. That's right.
It's like, I'm like, when are we doing this? What are we doing?
You were like, what's going on? You know, because we had some plans, and I was like, I'm probably not gonna make it, but if I do, I'm taking 2 pieces off the board. And so Frug swung his sword at me, hit, and I shot and hit. I was still conscious. He dropped consciousness, and that was a bad moment for me. It felt bad. Because I got 2 guys that got caught red-handed trying to rob them, lying unconscious at my feet.
Lies.
And
so turn 1.
I feel bad for you at all.
And I was like,
1,
man,
I wake up at 3 a.m, and I'm looking at my phone, and I see he's like, oh, I'm gonna take 2 guys off the board. I was like, what did I miss? I scroll up. He's saying repeatedly it was self-defense. I'm like, oh, okay, my buddy, you know, like,
dude, he sprayed me with a submachine gun.
Because you were robbing him.
The only reason that went down is because Jeffro couldn't let me make an elite move because I annoyed him with a dumb name and he had to do work. And he was like, nope, that's not going to happen. We're going to take Dunder off the board right off the bat and then have a fun game.
But to be fair, in a court of law, that wouldn't be self-defense because we were both just unconscious.
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
the
true.
deaths happened later.
The coup de grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So yes.
No. Dunder is the only player in the game to ask me about the coup de grace rule.
3 times.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I presume you actually finished them off by beating them to death because you never reloaded.
No, I had a cutlass. I just told him, and Fluid can attest. This is what I said. I said, "Man, I wish you guys hadn't come back into this room."
It was self-defense.
And so, yeah, I finished them off, and then I was like, "Oh crap, I'm gonna have to hide these bodies." And Jeff was like, "Nah, they don't care about that crap on this planet. You could just turn them into a church, and they won't ask any questions. They actually prefer that these violent travelers take each other out on this planet." I was like, "This is awesome." So that was Dunder's turn 1 and Fluid's turn 1. Who should we go to next, Jeffro? You got the grand plan here. You saw everybody's orders.
Gosh, well, R-Dubs was the most exciting thing happening on turn 1 after this.
Oh yeah,
that was interesting. I had a horrible character. The only thing that saved the character was the fact that it had money, and you allowed me to buy an ATV. And so as Dunder was going through everyone's stuff, all my stuff was in a vehicle, and because of a certain Baroness who had carousing 1 and kind of looked like Paris Hilton in my head.
Baroness Banana.
Yeah, I would take my 5 social score and go over and try to take her out on the town and use the money, because she only had 10,000 credits, liked to carouse, and that was going to be really easy. And as soon as I walk into there, she gives the thumbs down, and her major domo starts shooting, and I'm out the window. Jumped out the window. I'm like, "Hey, Jeffro, I'm evading. I'm going. I'm running. Jump out. Get in the ATV." That reaction roll really did, and that's we were kind of talking about it earlier. That the skills in this game, and then the way the reaction is working in this type of play, really did build the character, and it really did build the turn 2 orders. And I think that's pretty much how the game went for me, was that oops, I rolled Snake Eyes was Moonstein for Holger Anderson, without a doubt.
Yeah. So it wasn't. Yeah, I didn't. The nobles were just a character taken out of. It's like a 1-line description of this character, and I placed them in there, and I did not prep them at all. I did not have an idea of what they would behave like in advance. So I waited for who approached them, what the reaction roll was, and what their stats was, and in that moment, I would just look at that and be like, "What is happening?" Right, and then just go with it. Now Gabe had a totally different experience, so he should probably go next.
All right, Gabe,
Yeah.
you're up.
So everybody, when they were making their characters, looked at all those cool weapons and vehicles and armor, and I looked at one thing. I looked at drugs. I bought drugs. That's what I brought to Moonshine. Truth serum, and then the most sort of clutch thing that I found was the disguise kit, which is expensive enough and vague enough that I felt I could do absurd and stupid things with it. It's just like a line. It's just, it's expensive. It says disguise kit, and it just says you can change your appearance for a short amount of time. Like whatever technology goes into that, that's like the great sort of hook of Travelers. That single line is like, okay, is this like printing out latex faces? Is this, instant surgery or something, rearranging your face? So I went in with truth serum and a disguise kit with a character who was incredibly tough and started out with real low intelligence and real low education, and then just won at the sort of end of character creation bonuses a ton of intelligence boosts and education boosts.
Nice.
So in my head, he was sort of like, okay, this is this meathead killer, that the space army did a bunch of experimental training and, psionics programs are on to sort of enlarge his head or give him some kind of psionic powers. So I just sort of played him as a real spook.
Wow. So you were a psyker.
What's that?
You were a psyker.
A psyker? I'm not familiar with that
Yeah,
reference.
he was, man, and he messaged me, and because he had made a comment about it, I literally avoided him the whole game because I almost bought a freaking psionics protective helmet at the beginning of his thing. And because I didn't, it was in my mind, and this dude had already kind of let out that he was psychic. He was a psyker, and I wasn't going near homeboy because I wanted to keep
but I wasn't. I asked Jeffro if I could, and he said no. And then I just said, I'm going to tell everybody I'm psychic to scare him away.
There you go.
That's exactly it worked, man. I was avoiding you like the plague.
Garnet approves your methods.
So I had no psionic powers at all. I tried to weasel some out of Jeffro, but he said no. But so my turn 1 order was first so first off, I kept all my equipment on me. And my first sort of proposed order was that I leave the ship, I immediately change my appearance, and then I join the pool of thugs that you guys are auctioning for.
Brilliant.
So that you could, that I could just be your thug. But then Jeffro and I agreed that would involve too much bookkeeping and
picking up on the theme here,
having to balance between two different players, one of whom is pretending to be an NPC or whatever. So I shifted my first turn orders to, I went to the Baron who is off-world and just had his steward running his estate. And the Baron is an idiot, and he's off on his yacht. He's got like a 4 intelligence. He's like Space Birdie Wooster, just sort of off gallivanting. So it's like a stupid Baron's going to hire a stupid steward. So I went and I offered to take him out on a hunting trip, big game hunting into the jungle. And he rolled, I think Jeffro's reaction roll was like incredible enthusiasm. Like if it wasn't a 12, it was an 11 or something.
Jeffro, where is the reaction rolls?
Oh, it's in book 3.
Book 3. Okay. Sorry, go ahead, Gabe.
Yeah, so anyway, I took him out hunting, killed him, killed his bodyguards, took his face, and took his place at the manor.
So turn 1, you are already a Baron.
Well, a steward. And the other key thing is that before I killed him, I pumped him full of truth serum so that I got all like the blockchain codes and house alarm codes and stuff from him to then just like walk in and just be the steward of this place.
You knew where the atomics were hidden. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Not the family atomics. Wow.
And his body
is an elite play, Gabe. I'm legit impressed.
That's pretty devious, I guess.
That's great.
Well, the character creation really does force you into a role in this game. I had no ability to fight. I had no ability to be social. The only thing I had was some credits, and that meant I needed an ally or I needed some thugs, and that wasn't working out. So that all leads into turn.
But you bought a bunch of stuff you couldn't use to lure us in.
I did.
That was brilliant. But next I want to hear, is it Scootifer or Scottifer? I've been calling you Scootifer, Mike, in my head.
Yeah, it's Scottifer.
It's Scottifer. Crap. Well, I might have a lyric in my forthcoming rap that sounds weird now. But anyway, what was your plan going in? What was your turn 1? So
let me just say, Huck Portico was a gentleman. Okay, he was a nice fella. He's trying to make some friends. He's on a new planet, just trying to get his bearings right. I am contacted by every traveler, almost every traveler, and they all offer me the same thing. Oh, we can be on the same team. Let's go, man. Here you go. We're allies. We need to have allies in this game. And I'm like, well,
the naked city.
Of course. But here's the thing. Here's how I chose my partner. The one person who stood tall for me, who actually like gave me credits, bought me gear, and like set me up because
you
during
were poor.
creation, I'm gonna be honest. So here's how I found out about Traveler. There was a blog post, and I was like, man, this is really interesting, Jeffro. Where's this game happening? Maybe I can join in the next one. He's like, if you get online right now, we'll roll up a character together. Let's just go. So I had never like opened the books. I had no idea what I was doing. And so I made some mistakes in character creation. I went all in on trying to get a ship and like an 18% chance of success.
Right? Scout.
But I went broke. Yeah, I did. I went in with 0 credits. And so I couldn't even buy the face mask to breathe on the planet that we were on. So if I got off the ship, I was dead. So, I went with my ally Holgar, who actually like bought me gear, hooked me up, and so I was ride or die with him. No matter what happened,
As I
Thunder,
was soon to find out.
But my plan was actually, I think my idea of what the Braunstein was going to be was it was going to play out over a number of weeks, and I was going to build an alliance with the scouts because I was a scout, and so I wanted to like have this army of scouts that were like, I could send to different places and just take out entire teams. But we all were murdered in the backseat of a car, so I don't know. It didn't play out that way at all.
Zach's got a good question that'll get answered in turn 2. Down there in the chat.
All right. So next, that brings us to like 2 of the latecomers, the surprise guests, being Harmony and Macho. Let's have Macho go first. What was your?
Well,
what was
ladies last, right?
This is the BrOSR, man. We don't pull punches and we don't shit.
It's okay. I think I'll be fairly quick. I seem to have come down with something since the game. I only just woke up and realized what time it was.
Well, thanks for joining, man. Good to have
okay.
you.
That's okay. I'm not feeling as bad as I was when I went to bed last night, so that's a plus. So I was sort of picking up on the game getting started, but I was a few paces behind everybody, and suddenly I realized, well, if I want to join in this, I have to roll somebody up. And I do have the little black books way back from my 13th birthday, but I haven't looked at them for a long time until Mr. Wargaming started doing things. So I have made 1 or 2 characters for fun that I was throwing at Mr. Wargaming that he was rejecting. And so it put me in a reasonably good position to join at late notice. And I picked up on the idea that there were a lot of colonels, there were a lot of army people. And I thought to myself, well, I'll go for a merchant. I don't recall ever rolling up a merchant before. And I just went through the process, but I was pretty lucky with my stats. And I realized that with my stats and the bonus to survival, that basically I could stay in a very long career in the merchants at virtually no risk. I think I survived each tour at 3 or something like that. So hardly any chance of dying. So I thought just leverage that, get as many of the retirement benefits as you can, and just see what happens. And like I said, I got some pretty good stats. Ended up with quite high intelligence and education, which made no difference in the long run. No difference whatsoever. But he had an interesting little start where he got commissioned in his first term, and he got a gun, which I decided was a laser rifle. And from there, I decided that in his first term as a merchant, his ship was attacked by pirates. He grabbed a laser rifle and helped fight them off, and from there was given a commission, but he wasn't promoted, and he wasn't promoted again for another 2 full terms. And I decided that was because he really liked killing people and wasn't so much on the merchant side of things. And then this is just the way the dice went. He got promoted 4 times in a row in his last 4 terms.
Oh, wow.
So I couldn't help but think that was something to do with being good with a laser rifle as well. And so he came out as a captain, a merchant captain. And rolling through the retirement benefits, I hadn't even really noticed that this was a possibility, but he rolled up a merchant tramp freighter. And I had to throw this at Jeffro and say, this is what I got, Jeffro. I know this isn't exactly what you're expecting. And so we had to work out, well, how can we have everybody just be themselves and one guy have a freighter? And so we just came up with the idea that the freighter would be the missing freighter that might show up given the random dice, which was as good as effectively saying you don't have one. Particularly with the length of the game, but it made for a lot of background, and also saved me having to because there's a lot of work in putting together the freighter and the crew and all that sort of thing, and you need to take a loan because you start off owing 150,000 credits per month for 40
Per
years.
month. Whoa.
Yeah. If you roll the merchant ship more than once, you start taking 10 years off that. So in theory, you could come out free and clear with the merchant ship, but I just got one, which was a bit of a liability, and so we dealt with it that way, which I think was quite good. Looking at the odds that Jeffro put together, it was virtually never going to show up. Maybe if we'd played for a month or 2 months or something.
Yeah, that
but I had
wasn't
some.
gonna happen.
Yeah, I had a lot of people lining me up with, oh yes, I'll get you a high passage, or I'll get you a low passage, and so that was good from there. So I did load up on. I had quite a bit of money, and I loaded up on a lot of equipment. And not being with everybody else, I decided. So I obviously arrived a little bit before the rest of the players with the ship, and I bought a car and I bought a whole bunch of stuff, and I tricked out that car so that it was good for adventuring. So I had a firing position and I had lots of component things and stuff like that. And I bought a lot of drugs as well.
The game plan.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to really do anything, but I was setting in for the long term, which of course in hindsight wasn't the best idea.
Yeah, I think I hit
yeah,
Macho up for some drugs at some point to replenish, see if I needed some for further plots and plans.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
feel
did
like
think the truth one could have been a real goer, and I did have a slow drug, which not to skip to the end, but I seriously considered pumping in at the start of that last battle.
Nice. I once really ruined Daddy Warpig's day with a slow drug. It had made its way into our Trilopulus campaign, and his character had gone to 0, and I was like, I can stabilize him, and I pumped him full of slow drug. He was like, you idiot, it's going to take me forever to get conscious again. Put his character in time jail for like months.
I always get this confused. Yeah, he was thrilled about that as well.
That was his Bard character. He rolled up a guy who could have had a shot at Bard, and I just put him in the slows, trying to save his life.
Technically, although it sounds right, it's actually the fast drug that makes you slow, and the slow drug makes you fast. It makes the world seem slow. So anyway, just to wrap up, so I just wanted to not get killed in the first round. So I went and saw one of the barons, one starting with T. I wanted to. I figured everybody should have a go if they've got any money at the thugs. So I tried to have a go at the thugs, but I had no leadership skill or all of those things that Jeffro later on said gives you a bonus with thugs.
Well, and you can also die by the thugs. Like if they got a bad enough reaction roll, not only would they not take your bid, but they could try to off you.
Yeah,
You got a hostile
so I was
reaction.
happy. Yeah, I was happy.
That's really interesting because in my orders, the first orders that I put in that were for becoming a thug, like changing my face and just joining the pool of thugs, I said I'll go to the highest bidder, or if Macho bids, whatever his bid is, I'll go to him. I was gonna tail you.
Very good. Yeah, I didn't really want them, but I thought you've got to have a go at them. And I'm not sure that I've said yet, but my guy was actually an assassin. So that's what I had put. He'd like killing people in the merchants, and he'd become an assassin.
Yeah, that came out.
Yeah.
Yes.
I noticed that.
Yeah, there was a bit that way. So I just thought, okay, go to the richest baron, talk to him. He's about my age. We've got a few similar interests. Let's see how it goes. And I came out of that with a plan and a date to do an assassination of one of the other nobles. And I haggled with Jeffro over the money, and I was going to get 35,000 credits.
Oh man!
And that was going to be in turn 3. So in turn 2, I just wanted to not die.
You pulled me over 5.
Well, I don't know if we're jumping straight to the end, but it became clear that whoever got that 5 was going to be the winner. So
fair.
All right. So Harmony.
Yeah.
How did you come in? And before we get too deep into it, I did want to point out something that Macho said that I feel like has been consistent in every Braunstein I've played with Jeffro, is that the players pretty much really have no idea what's going on coming in. Like, is this going to be like, for me, I was like kind of Macho's on that same wavelength of this is going to take a while. It's going to be weeks, setting up the long game, and then I felt like it turned into Call of Duty out of a sudden. But so what were your expectations coming in, Harmony, and what was your character and what was your turn one?
So I hadn't been keeping up with the Traveler stuff that Jeffro was posting, really. I posted on Twitter, I had like this poll, like, I really want to play a space game, what should I play? And Traveler won, so I was kind of like interested in learning about it. But anyway, so I've never played with you guys before, and Jeffro messages me in the middle of the day on Monday and is like, hey, I saw you're interested in playing Traveler, did you want to come into this game? And I'm like, sure. He's like, okay, orders are due tonight. You need to learn the game, have a character. And I'm like, wait, hold up. Because I'm working all day that day. And then I like committed to doing a like 2-hour stream with someone afterwards. And I'm like, okay, you're going to have to work with me. So he gave me the character he rolled up. So I didn't even roll up a character. And I was like, okay, planes. I fly planes. I want a plane, and that's all I know is I want a plane, right? Or a helicopter, or some sort of biplane, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I decided that my character was actually a native, and I didn't know any of you guys. So I was like, these guys are gonna be like really cutthroat. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just like not gonna lie to anyone, and I'm just gonna try and be friends. And my goal in this game is I want the best for the planet we're on, because it's my native planet, and I don't even need to leave. I just basically I knew that there were going to be so many villains in this game that I was like, let's just give them someone that would be really satisfying to obliterate. Well, because it's no fun if everybody's the villain, right? So I just
play it straight.
I'm like, I'm just gonna be super friendly to everyone and play it straight and just be nice. And so anyway, I got all this sorted out. I talked about it with Jeffrey. I told him what I was buying, and I was like, can I be added to the group chat? And he's like, why don't you just talk to Mike and Dunder? And I'm like, oh,
voice.
okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It was surprising actually when someone started mentioning your name and like, hey, let's go to the jungle. It was
Moritz Loman says flowers to a gunfight.
Exactly.
So clearly your character was named Serena, I think, or Cirilla or something like that. Cruella.
No, it was Serena. It was it was a subfamily of octopus, because I've like I like octopuses. So that's all it was.
I think the plural is pronounced octopiece.
It's octopus.
So that's actually debatable. It depends. Both are correct. Octopuses, octopi. But I really like them, and so I just made it the subfamily of octopuses. And so
but you and Huck were the good guys. You were the heroes.
Yeah. He was just like, why don't you just talk to Dunder and Mike, and I'll tell the rest. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm sorry for those of you.
So sorry, guys. The BrOSR is over.
I just ruined it.
Just kidding.
No, I'm sorry for those of you who were tricked into playing with the women's division.
Hey, the women's division is still part of the WWE.
Right.
Wait,
so
they added Brittany Griner? What happened? What's going on?
So
BrOSR.
Yeah. Anyway, I tried to be friends with them, and my first round, I was spying on all of the barons, trying to figure out like which ones had the best interests of the planet at heart and which ones were corrupt. And that information was going to be useful later had anyone bothered to spare my life in exchange for it. However, that did not happen.
So you were also playing the information game.
Yes.
News Network screams cooties. Sorry, that was immature. I should not have laughed at that. So before we get into turn 2, and also noting that we've lost Jeffro, I don't know if his power went out or what. If anybody's on it with him in the back channel, forward him the link again. I was interested in your turns, but I was also interested in all of the communication that inevitably happens around this stuff, right? So I'll tell you what I was thinking. And like maybe my headcanon did not actually match my character. I did not come into it like macho saying, I'm an assassin, I'm a bad guy, I want to kill everyone. Like I was honestly thinking it was more like Mass Effect, where like it was about exploration and traveler and like new planets and stuff. And I thought it was a great move to try to steal stuff and get information. And then I got caught, and my dice were amazing, and I shot my way out. Okay, let's see. Where is Jeffro back in yet? As soon as you get in there, I'll pop you back in the room. But
he used my tagline, and we're back.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So I didn't know how this was going to go. I knew I was playing against some elite people, and hopefully you guys have already seen the caliber of the thought that these people put into these turns and stuff. I thought of it as like a game of Survivor. And in Survivor, one of the best things you can do is get a good alliance on day one, and you can trust each other. I know you guys are going to just
A1.
Yeah, I told R-Dubs, you are my A1 from day one. He was like my first alliance. Actually, I think, Mike, you reached out to me first. But you were penniless, and
yeah. Oh yeah, I needed money.
R-Dubs I had a skill. I had one level of laser carbine, but I didn't have one.
It's the only reason I posted the notice in the chat was because you had the laser carbine skill, and I knew that you bite on.
Oh, you saw that, and you're like, "Hey, I need a guy that can run this." And I was like, "All right, me and him." And then Scooter for Mike. Sorry, Scutterfer. I'm gonna get that right. You were also communicating, and I was like, "All right, these are the bros." And then Harmony showed up, and I was like, "Okay, so we got our core 4. We can vote the rest off the island.
Yep.
We can hang together. We can do good stuff. We can cover for each other." And I did not. When I felt bad about killing Fluid and Sky. I felt terrible. And I was like, that was not supposed to go down that way. That was supposed to be a clean job where I just get some
Good.
boost some stuff. Yeah.
Bro, when you
them,
killed
turn 1 and 2 guys are out of the game already. What is going on?
When you killed them, my entire strategy changed. I started messaging R-Dubs. I was like, we might need to take him out right now.
Okay.
We can't trust him. He's a thief. And then I started messaging Mandolph because I was like, I might need to get out of the core 4 because these guys are lunatics.
So yeah, to answer your Tag's question, this is in other Twitter chats. All these things are flying around. This is and point out, Jeffro has no idea the conversation unless someone leaks to him. He has no idea all of the deals in the back, and he doesn't matter. He just gets his orders and he adjudicates them, and then he finds out like the rest of us. What happened? So that was my strategy. I was not going to betray my teammates. And Jeffro, you can attest to this. I was like the most I had to be dragged into those scenarios because I was always trying to say, well, maybe if we talk it out or whatever. But then when it came down to it, I still pulled the trigger and I still did the coup de grace. So I guess maybe I wasn't thinking about my character.
But no, I mean, you had any player that had an opportunity to eliminate a player, another one, I would be in their DMs being like, why would your character not take the shot? Can you tell me why your character wouldn't take the shot? This doesn't sound like good role playing to me. Are you playing your role? Tell me you're playing your role. How does this fit into your role to like spare these people's lives? What happened to faction of 1? What happens to player versus player?
So tell me about that decision. Like, why were you like that? Because like it took me a while. So here's the thing I've always learned is you may like I'm speaking for myself here. Dunder may, in his ignorance, be resistant and be like, "What happened to total player agency? And why can't I do what I want?" And that's what my character would do. But I've learned, no, Jeffro's thought about this way more than you have, and he knows what he wants to get out of this. So just trust the process.
Yeah, no. Look, if I did this again, I didn't even want this one to be done in 2 turns. I wanted it to be done in like 6 to 8 turns, which is the sweet spot. But even that would be it. So I kind of wanted to be done before I go on a beach trip in a couple of weeks, right?
Okay,
so,
all right. So, but it is in
well-
your interest to take players
so-
off the board because it's less paperwork, right?
But no, I mean, you guys don't understand. For me, like I was running this game nonstop for 6 days.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was just like, no, I don't want this to go 3 weeks. Like 2, I was afraid that no one would die turn 2, and then the game would still be going after 2 weeks when I'm getting ready to leave for the trip. If I left for the trip, then the game is dead because you guys wouldn't be interested in it when I came back. So I was just like, no, we need to eliminate players. We like
Fluid,
one
you were
per
about
turn.
to say something.
One per turn was what I wanted, and it was 2 the first turn, and then a lot the second turn.
So I have a question for you, Jeffro, which is back years ago when you were doing the first Trollopolis July Braunstein, which lasted, I think, pretty much the full month.
Yes.
Did that nearly kill you?
No, because I would get up in the morning and I would have Mandolph for 30 minutes, do whatever he was doing, and then and then my lunch break I would hit it, and then after work I would come back. Around 8 o'clock or so, Mandolph would come back in. So if he was involved with something, I would have a window where he was around, and if anybody else was interacting with him, I had to have it done right then. So, yeah, having not just Mandolph, but Scudder for Mike, coming out of like whatever distant barbaric land that he dwells in, it's like, some people on the 4th of July are like, oh, look, Jeffro, like, I'm doing stuff with my family. I'm sorry I can't read your turn status reports because, I have a life. And I'm like, no,
Disrespectful.
Scudder for Mike is going to like, I have his attention for maybe 2 hours, and then I don't know what's going to happen. It's like, I got to get this done now. And it's like, I don't want to live like this for 2 weeks. So no, if I'm telling people how to do this, you don't have to be like Jeffro and get everybody killed in 2 turns. But if you did this on a weekly basis, and people could die, but not every week, I think you're going to get a pretty good game out of this. I think we've done enough to prove the idea, to see if anybody else wants to take it up and experiment with it.
And we all knew what we were signing up for too, right? Like if there was a chance to kill somebody, you had to take it because there could be only one, right?
Well, no.
I put very clearly on the scenario write-up that if we knew how this was going to work, we wouldn't be doing it. So
yeah, that's true.
I was focused on money more than killing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now I have a thing to interject here, which is I've heard back from Sky. He can't make it because he's with family.
Good choice.
But I have a few things that he relayed to me, which I would like to give to him. The first one being, which is right after he was shot and killed, he said, honestly, that was retarded. and then just now he said it would have. My suggestion is that the scenario should have been, instead of a broken down cruise ship, essentially, that it should have been prisoners in a crashed prison transport, because that would have conveyed the cutthroat nature better, Con Air in space. Because he says, I was on a Greyhound to Orlando and it broke down in DC and nobody killed anybody.
Oh man.
I mean, I saw a Tarantino movie from the beginning. I don't know how. Maybe it was just all the memes that we were posting in Twitter, but it was a mix between like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction for sure. Especially the murder in the car. Like that was like ideal.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. Oh, well, we didn't do. Dubs took over the starport on turn 1 with the 10 thugs, though. That was the high level game that was going on.
Oh yeah.
That dominated the meme space while Gabe was doing his underhand sneak stuff.
So And I wasn't aware of Gabe. Gabe was like a ghost in the night, just taking over Berenice. But I was aware of B-dubs. And I was like, dude got all the henchmen, and he just took over the airport. And I'm like, nobody stands a chance against him. We're going to need to team up. So here I got my revolver. I never reloaded it. I had 2 shots out of it. It had 4 rounds left. And I wanted to get my hands on that laser carbine because that's what my skill was at. And that gun is so boss. But we figured out, for all our talking, we never actually met up yet, R-Dubs and I.
Purposefully, I did not want you to have it.
Yes. This was my first ever chance to play with Sky, and I feel so bad that I just offed him. Can we just let's just use our imaginations, just a hypothetical. What if you had just let me get away with it, and I had just stolen a few choice items here and there, and then everyone gets back to their stateroom and your counterfeit,
your murder of those guys,
missing.
like your murder of those guys was the tone. It set the tone and
yeah,
pretty
absolutely.
much the course of the entire adventure.
It turned
That
into
and the
Halo.
fact that Jeffro interpreted the Snake Eyes as a contract on Holger's head really kind of set the tone for the whole game for me.
Mm-hmm.
And
because you didn't just fail the date, but she wanted your blood after that.
Well, yeah, even if you had just rolled a different stateroom, even because that one ended up with both of us at the same spot.
It was just dumb luck that you agreed on day one. You're like, yeah, I'll walk around with you.
Yeah.
You did nothing wrong. And even pulling the trigger on an SMG should have been an I win button.
Right.
But here's the thing, though. I think you guys were both
of Bruce Willis against John Travolta in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Just knew as he came out of the toilet.
Your guy was ex-Army, right?
Yep.
I think was Sky ex-Army as well.
No, he was an other.
He's other.
Well, see, there's the thing. I was a Marine, so I'm just kidding.
Oh, it's Marines versus Army, of course.
Just to jump in there, though, Brian. I dropped in the chat before. You could have gone full auto with that SMG. That would have given you 2 shots.
See,
2 chances to hit.
You died due to lack of system mastery.
Oh, well, I was assuming full auto. I should have been more specific.
Well, that hurt you, but it also hurt Sky because he didn't give his movement command. He just said, "Swing my sword." And so
his sword wouldn't have worked well in close range. If he'd had like a blade or something instead, that would have worked better at close range than your revolver. But
really,
that's all. Yeah.
Oh,
water under the bridge, you guys. Humpster McFuggins don't miss.
Anyway, I figured
honestly, Dunder, you ran away with the campaign, man. Like you,
but it wasn't
everyone.
It wasn't strategy. It was sheer panic, and it was just amazing dice.
It was impressive to watch, man. You killed multiple people in multiple combats.
Just to touch on turn 2, there was a question about reaction rolls between PCs. The only reason I picked you up is because I rolled a freaking 11 on a reaction roll. That's the only reason you got into the ATV, dude.
Well, so let's get into that because there was some shenanigans, right? Jeffro pulled an oopsie in one of the channels and totally outed R-Dubs, or at least a portion of R-Dubs' message, right? Who wants to share that?
Well, I set some conditions, like because of what had happened and the fact that there was the contract on Holger's head. You guys all said you were going to do something, and if that happened, then it was going to go pretty smoothly. But if you showed up alone, I was going to run you over.
Yes.
If Harmony showed up alone, I was going to run her over just because I wanted to be able to say I ran over Harmony.
Right. Yeah.
Dude, I was going to kill you eventually. Like, there's no question I was going to kill Dunder Moose. Like, that just had to happen.
Okay.
Mike, I didn't have the same trigger order. If I had gotten the thugs, the door was open and Mike was coming into shotguns, but I would have let him in the ATV, right? So there were a few trigger conditions that I had set previously because I knew that it was going to be 4th of July and I just had to know what was going to happen and I wasn't going to have time to really think about it. So that's how I set up that turn for myself. After I had posted, I was hoping that posting a hit for the Baroness for 3,000 more credits than what she had posted would sway things a little bit. it absolutely had no impact on it. You guys weren't looking for money anymore. It was blood at this point because of what kind of had gone down already in the game, I think. So,
Oh, I was actually making plans to cash in on that.
were you?
I was, yeah. If things had progressed, I was going to use my position as, you know, the steward of Ariston to contact the Baroness and collect on that bounty you posted.
Awesome.
No, I was not on that level, guys. Like when I got caught with a thing, I was trying to tell Fluid. I was like, "Oh, I heard you guys can do forgery. I might need to use your help with the steward and boring conversation anyway."
Mandoff was very smart in turn 2. He had some key messages to me that I had been thinking one way or the other. And he said some stuff to me in private chat that I was like, okay, I'm just going to go with this. Harmony backed that up in turn 2 by saying literally like, hey, that guy stopped there. Do not run him over. And so I've got Harmony saying in the ATV, don't run over Joe. I've got Joe saying, don't run me over. I'm waving at you and smiling. And I'd already tried to buy some passage from him. So I'm like, okay, we can do this for another turn. And that was a mistake. Luckily I had hidden reflect armor.
You should have hit him.
Yeah, I should have.
You should have hit him.
So here's the thing.
No. The original decision was the best one, I think. And you know, I jumped sides about 3 times during that battle because
Oh wow.
I didn't. The only thing I'd really worked out that I was trying to get to for the price of 1 in that turn was I wanted to survive and set up for my assassination hit in the 3rd one, and I'd worked out that a certain player had a laser carbine skill, and I thought to myself, what a perfect guy to leave at the scene of the crime with his laser carbine. If I do that, I'll be off clear. Because I had a laser rifle, it's going to look like the same. So, although all I really wanted to do was just stay low that turn, I figured Jeffro wants some action, so I put that in there. That my idea was to, if possible, go to the ruined city, turn around as soon as everybody sees me leave, come back, and then go into the jungle. And then if I happen to come across a certain laser carbine wielding player, then shoot him. But that would have been a really bad idea because my system mastery failed me spectacularly.
Yeah.
Which is that I had forgotten that you can wear reflect under normal armor. I have a feeling we played it a bit more nuanced in the 80s. So with the tech levels and stuff, it was a bit more difficult to get to. But either way, once I started firing and I realized all these guys have reflect, hopefully Harmony doesn't. That pretty much sealed the deal. But I remembered as well that my orders included using the disguise kit to put on a mustache before I went after everybody. But that didn't seem to come through. It's just as well.
Yeah, this was this whole sequence was in turn 2. Like 80% of turn 2 was a single battle that was set up in the Book 1 range band style.
Yeah.
If I looked at your orders and there was any reason at all that you could possibly be there in some respect, I went with it because, you know, like there was a time in Sherlopolis in July 2021 when Prince Elric was moving to Cave 6 while the sorceress was heading to the Goblin town. And they passed within 1 hex of each other. And I was sitting there adjudicating that stuff like perfectly. And it was like, and the question back then was well, gosh, if this was an Edgar Rice Burroughs book, there would have been an encounter there, like no matter what. And I was like, oh, well, but I'm running the game and I got all these hexes and things like that. So that was like, that could have been a really awesome encounter. And I didn't do it because I was doing movement and time very carefully. So for this one, I was like, oh, you know, I'm going to go mapless with no real sense of what the time length of a turn even is. I'm going to look at the turn instructions. And then if there's any way to make a scenario out of it that gets people interacting where they're in kind of a prisoner's dilemma with each other, then I'm going to make it happen.
It's a BrOSR blasphemy. No one-to-one time.
Right. Yes. No. In 2020, Fagor the Half-Orc said the only person that can beat Jeffro in RPGs is future Jeffro. So here I am.
Right on, man. Right
He
on.
has
So,
arrived.
so Jeffro,
Go ahead.
oh, go
Ryan.
ahead.
No,
Oh,
you're good.
I had a question. You said earlier that you thought you had imagined like 6 to 8 turns potentially.
Yes, I did. I did.
And that's interesting to me because I'm slowly preparing for Gangbusters, a Braunstein, and I'm doing it different because I am using a map. That's what's part of the slowness is I have to add a bunch of stuff to my maps. But in Gangbuster, they have one of their few rules for campaigns is that the players write down orders for their character for a full week. And this is like face to face, you write down your orders for a full week, and then the game master, the referee, looks at them all and holistically plays out each day and finds the things where there's conjunctions where you might say have a combat or some sort of meeting of characters that doesn't require combat, but is separate. And to me, that sounds like, well, a week is 7 days. That sounds like right in the range of what you were imagining.
Right.
And so the question in my mind is, the difference, of course, is that in Gangbusters, it says you write down your full plans for the week. And I don't know how, it doesn't give you any direction on what happens after the first day when everything goes differently than you imagined. So I don't know. I just thought your thoughts on that.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing that we did with this that was very different was I think when we were doing Trilopulus in 2020, 2021, and on into 2023, we kind of had for our downtime actions a presupposition that you could just micromanage every single thing about your character, and that made sense. And that even the bias would have been to play AD&D as a game, which was great for what we were doing, and we certainly had a lot of fun. But long term in the campaign, where you have these people in an always-on campaign acting independently with total autonomy, and then micromanaging everything that they do to be just right, you end up getting, I call it artifacting. It's just there's just a glitch there where things. Unless the referee in the AD&D game is really thinking very clearly about roles and then grading people down for not playing their role, then that's really your only avenue for dealing with kind of the weirdness that happens. Another thing that happens is the campaign just sort of goes stale because like somebody or a collection of somebody is sort of putting their thumb on scales. But anyways, so with this one, that micromanaging thing went away. People weren't playing, when we played out a turn, it was not like an always on game where everybody was like moving their man around on the board and describing their actions. It was like when people talked to me, and most people ended up getting it pretty good. Like I don't know why I'm describing something that people ended up doing without me coming up with it. So this is not a Jeffro idea that I can like beat my chest and say I've changed RPGs with. This was a team effort. People role played, and Brian, you would probably have helped figure this out if you had lived a turn 2. But no, people did not just play their turn. They role played their instructions for the turn. They stuck to them, even if they saw things that would maybe sway them to do something a little different.
Yeah.
So it was, there was a very different feel there. There was a commitment, and this also ties back into the criticism of the earlier BrOSR phase where things just got so silly. I think this format, partly because every action is completely being routed through the referee, who has a chance to be a check on it and like calm it down without having a confrontation at the table with real life players. So you don't have the social effect of oh, this DM is such a party pooper. But I feel like we, once we got rid of Sky, who didn't like the way, the idea of this whole game being so violent and so forth and not making sense, a sense did emerge.
Things kind of played out.
Yeah, so the roles, once people got their footing and the game got a flow state for everyone, it really, I think we got the kind of immersion and the kind of quality setting development that the guys at Black Lodge Games have been advocating for over and against the BrOSR.
And I mean, I think that they're right. Like I've always tried to role play a character, and I still want to be tactical, but I don't want to abandon the idea that like my character is loyal to, like, Holgar, for instance. He paid my way. He geared me up, and when he was obviously defeated, I could have easily metagamed it and been like, oh, well, I'm going to side with Dunder now because he won that fight.
Oh, man, I was
like,
hoping
no.
so much that you guys were going to be cool.
But I was like, no, man. Like,
but it was so epic when you were like...
On that note, man, that conversation I have screenshotted because the back and forth between the three of you while I'm watching you after you shot me in the back was beautiful because you have these thugs outside shooting you with shotguns. Yeah.
We're under fire.
Literally, you're going back and forth like, who can drive this freaking thing? Mike's going, that was not cool. I'm going to kill you with my cutlass.
We were bickering like a Star Wars episode.
It was hilarious. It was Han Solo for sure. Like, it was so funny, man.
You know who could have driven that thing? My character. That was my best skill, ATV.
Mine too. That was my one thing.
You were supposed to. I was supposed to die because of my stupid ideas and my bad character names, but it just didn't go down that way.
Well,
that was one of my favorite tweets when Jeffro was like, I wanted to kill the player that had the stupid name, but instead I killed my friends.
Can I tell my version of events here?
Please.
Oh,
please,
yeah.
Okay. So on round 2, I finally get brought into the group chat, and there's complete chaos. There are people I recognize as soon as I was brought in. There are people that like R-dubs who are just like, I'm going to kill Harmony for clout. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to let it happen. That's fine. I'm just going to be just the nice person here. And I was actually supportive of B-dubs taking over the starport because it was corrupt to begin with. But anyway, Jeffro told us that there was a missing scout, and we wanted to find him. So the 3 of us, or 4 of us, so it was me, Dunder, Scudder for Mike, and R-dubs. We're gonna meet up and go on a jungle expedition to find this missing scout, and that's what we wanted to do. But then, of course, Jeffro's like, all right, so R-dubs is going to run you over if you show up and Dunder doesn't. And he's going to run Dunder over if he shows up and you don't. Do you want to show up? And I'm like, I'm not letting him kill Dunder. Never. So, of course, I show up.
Well, you got to realize, too, because you guys, after turn 1 got posted and everyone's like, Dunder just blew 2 guys away in their own state room. You guys were like, oh, crap, this guy's awful. Yeah. And I was like, no, you guys got to understand. It was self-defense that they fired on me. Like, I did so much role play work to try to win you back over after that.
Yeah, it worked. I'm easy to win over. I was everyone's friend. That worked very, very well for me, let me tell you.
Yeah, totally.
But anyway, so we meet up, we get in this ATV, and there are like thugs shooting at us, and we're like firing back, and then out of nowhere, Dunder just kills R-dubs, who is driving the ATV. So I'm panicking.
You make it sound like I just blew him away.
But you did.
No.
You did. You did.
I did? Who did?
Bro,
yeah,
he shot R-dubs.
Yeah, so he shoots
there's
the guy
some
on our
nuance
side
there.
who's driving, and so I'm like yelling at them in group chat, like, "What are you doing? Who can drive this thing? Can you drive?" And he's like, "I was hoping you could drive." And I'm like, "I can drive a plane. What do you want from me?" So of course I'm spending my next actions trying to figure out how to drive an ATV and moving his body so that we can get out of there, and then Mike, instead of helping cover me and shoot the thugs, he kills. He turns on Dunder, and then the two of them start killing each other, and I'm trying to get this ATV out of here while my passengers are
You're like
killing each
Sandra
other
Bullock
instead of
on
the people
Speed.
shooting at us.
You're Sandra Bullock on Speed while the gun fired. You're like, just like, get your butt behind the yellow line.
Yeah, they couldn't behave.
The battle of the
And so-
backseat.
I'm like trying to save as many of us as I can, and
Gosh.
Joe casually walks up, shooting at the thugs. He just turns and blows me away, and I'm like, okay.
No,
That
the
was
best
it.
part was Harmony just making sure that we weren't going to run over Macho and Joe.
Yeah, he's like, don't run over Macho, and he's like,
Whatever you do, don't
Well,
hurt them.
at that stage, we were on the same page. Absolutely.
Right.
Because I'd put down as part of my backstory for leaving town that I was going to buy 30 days worth of dehydrated food and water. And so obviously when this all went down, I'd just come from the shops and I had my arms full of the dehydrated food and water. And Jeffro, the way I laid out my what I was carrying and stuff, I pretty much had, if I'm just walking around, I've got my submachine gun. If I'm ready to attack someone, I've got my laser rifle because of the weight and all that. The laser rifle's very heavy.
yeah, big backpack.
So when Jeffro described the situation, he was expecting me to say, well, I go in guns blazing with my laser rifle. And I'm saying, I've got my hands full with these cans of dehydrated water and my submachine gun. I'm going for the car. And that was, that was all there was to it.
So I want to hear from Gabe, because I feel like I know a little bit about what everyone else was thinking leading up to this. But like, Gabe,
right.
were you just out of the picture?
Gabe is the I don't know if we're done with the ATV scene, which was the
We're not.
which was the battle royale.
That's what we're gonna get to.
But the Gabe was for this entire event. He was the icing on the cake.
Yeah, well, there's some questions in the chat about, how did B-dubs get the starport, and the truth is they're just free. You can take them, like, so I was just a spectator to all of this. I didn't even know who had killed Pritchard and the Italian until
Gotti, Niccolo Gotti.
Yeah, later. And it should tell you sort of how suspicious I am. I assumed that the funeral announcement that Jeffro put in the newspaper was just a trap, and that, like, if anyone came to pay their respects, like, they were gonna, kick
That's a
open
trap.
the lids of the coffin or something. But I was at that point, I was still kind of off doing my own thing, really keeping an eye on the starport. I had sort of a turn 1.5, which was I wanted to find a way to communicate with the other players or in the persona of the Steward of Ariston, rather than as Jung Junger or Jung Junger, however you pronounce it. And my first attempt, I made an alternate Twitter account for Jeffro to drop into the group chat, but Twitter kept being convinced that it was just a spam bot and rate limiting me. So that didn't work. So then I just gave Jeffro some announcements and things for the steward to sort of give to
Brilliant.
sort of in general.
But you weren't one of the thugs that was attacking the ATV, though.
No, that was just my first sort of plan, my first attempted turn 1 that we just agreed was to involve too many sort of games of telephone and
Yeah, so like he gave me orders that were going to make me do a lot of work, and I just decided not to kill him because I felt bad about trying to kill you. I mean, that blew up in my face when I did it before, so it was like, no, just give me something else, man.
Yeah, but I feel totally vindicated in my plan because I was watching the old Lone Ranger with my sons today, like the old 1940s Lone Ranger, and the very opening scenario is this criminal runs into the new Texas tax commissioner, kills him, and takes his identity and goes to Austin to be the tax commissioner and just, siphon off money from everything because nobody knows anybody. So I feel vindicated in how audacious my first sort of turn orders were. But yeah, I was really just on the sidelines trying to figure out like who was alive, who was dead, and just trying to get it, stay out of it as much as I could, and also track down, who were these sort of others floating on the sidelines, Harmony and Macho, and what were they doing, trying to figure it out. And so I had my line, which was I was telling everybody that I was going to start a scam psionics academy, just to see if anybody would. Right? What's that?
Because everyone thought you had psionics. You're like, I'll teach you how to use them.
Yeah.
That's like the beginning of Ghostbusters.
Yes, that was exactly it. Yeah.
Just knock the gum out of people's mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I know that it was like very taxing on Jeffro, but I do regret that the campaign turned into a murder fest so quickly. It would have been nice to set up my like scout army plan and just like take over the world. But
I had 8 months worth of food in that freaking ATV and everything to go explore. I was ready.
Whose idea was the jungle? That was Mike, right?
Yeah,
we were
going to go native.
I wanted to play that out. If
don't believe you.
Y'all had a perfectly fair chance to leave. We did. That scenario was you were not doomed. Nope. You had a perfectly fair chance to leave, and if you left, I would have paused the Braunstein and probably like set up like an actual session to go play out that adventure.
You wanted me to kill everyone.
It would have been really fun.
The great thing, Jeffro, is
get out of there.
All we had to do is get out of there. You're right.
All we had to do to get out of there was Dunder not killing the driver.
Yes.
He goes, man, I really want to go play this adventure like 12 hours before shooting me in the back in the ATV.
Okay, so. Can we talk about? It's my turn. I got to tell you what left.
I was prepping up my mud, like getting ready to just go full native. Like.
Yeah. So I was the most credulous rube on this game. I thought Macho was on my side. I thought you guys were on my side. I was like, let's go out into the jungle and find this scout. I needed the heat to die down in town a little bit because I had just blown away 2 guys that was just supposed to be me boosting a few items of worth and then getting away and none knowing the better. And it turned into like a gunfight. So I was totally down. I was like, I'm going to get with R-Dubs. He's my A1 from day one. I'm going to finally get a laser carbine, and we're going to see what that thing can do. Harmony's been nice to me, but Serena was like, I might just take my biplane. I don't know if I want to go into the jungle with you 3.
Well, I was going to fly above the jungle at Scout.
Yeah, and Mike the Scout had disappeared into the jungle, right? Like he'd gone there. And then at some point, Jeffro starts posting, hey, everybody knows the Scout got shot in the face. And I'm like, okay, what's going on with that?
Wait, I missed that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
That was the Starport Scout, I think, not the
main one. Okay, so I misunderstood that. And then the oopsie came with run over Dunder Moose. That kind of was weighing on my mind. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to reach out to R-Dubs and see what's really going on. And so I did. And he was like, you only saw a part of that message. There were contingencies in there that you didn't see. That wasn't the whole of the plan. And
a lot of ins and outs, a lot of what have yous.
Right. Yes. And so I was like, all right.
This, then that.
I have the order right here if you want to hear it.
No, that's all right. I believe you.
It's too late.
Yeah. So I was like, I want to trust him. I want to go on a jungle adventure because that's what I thought Traveler was get in the vehicle and go into the jungle and fight weird monsters with my new laser carbine and figure out, because that was the thing, Jeffro, you said, interact with the Barons, solve the mysteries. There's clues you can look for. And the clues really didn't have anything to do with what wound up winning the game.
Yes, Mo.
But nobody knew that, right? We were figuring it out as we went.
Hey, David Wesley had a bait and switch. You know, you got to let me have one too.
That's true. That's true. I really do. So I had Fluid's automatic rifle, which those things are beast. And my instructions were, I don't know if I can trust these guys. I want to have the adventure too. I hid myself in a sniper location with the automatic rifle, and I said, I'm gonna watch. And if he just stops and opens the door, and if Serena and Hulk jump in, then I'll know it's safe and I'll go jump in. But if he tries to run them over, then I'll know it's a double cross. So my turn one, man, here's the thing, guys, watching this. I know it's play by post. I know we're just chatting with each other, but the tension I felt when I was like, should I reveal my position? Should I stay hidden? And Jeffro was like egging me on. He's like, they're gonna peel out and they're gonna go have this awesome jungle adventure without you. You know, do you want to just let that happen? And I'm like, no. But then I knew there was something else was hidden in the area. It was like at range band 10. It was like, I forget what you called it in the post. There was some unknown. There was a question mark. And then here's stinking Macho, just like, getting my groceries. Nothing to see here, folks. Wrong place, wrong time, you know? And I feel, Harmony, just as much as there were people that wanted to kill you for clout, there were people that, like, the blood drained out of their face when they saw Macho has entered the chat. Like, when they... Macho, you just have a reputation. So there were people that just wanted to kill him because... Well, I did it in my first Battle Braunstein, and it's fun.
To clarify,
go ahead, Fluid and then Harmony.
To clarify, I thought Macho Mandoff in the chat was literally the character Macho Mandoff. I was afraid of magic, and and I didn't realize it was another character. I thought it was because Chilopoulos does have a Traveler connection. It's possible.
Oh, it's true. It's true.
And I wanted to steal his ship and abandon him on this planet, so he'd never get back to Chilopoulos.
Well, sadly,
but that didn't happen.
Work out. No.
All right.
I just want to say that while this was going on, I was with my dad on the 4th of July. And when Jeffro was like, some of you were doing fireworks stuff at the same time and didn't have time for this, that was me. Because my dad was so upset at me on my phone. But Macho Mandoff was like messaging me at the same time. And he was like, hi, I wave. I'm like,
that's exactly what he did to me.
Yep. So nice. Okay. Yep. Well, anyway, and I'm also freaking out because I have to like move R-Dub's lifeless body from the driver's seat.
We haven't got there yet.
I have okay. No, we have got there. We're there.
I haven't told my version of it.
Okay, you can tell your version of it.
What did you
my version of it is you shot Macho Mandoff while not Macho Mandoff, R-Dubs while he was driving our car.
Yeah, and I was completely with Serena because she had got me hook, line, and sinker with all the information she said she had on the Barons.
Yeah.
That if the things had gone on and people hadn't killed each other, I would have been very happy to work with Serena to get the ins and outs on which Barons would be likely to want to have hits on the other Barons. And
I knew that I had that information for you.
But I did think after the game, wait a minute, how did she find out all that information in one turn? I think she was bullshitting me. But now I'm very happy to find out that you're not, and I'm even more sorry that the laser thing.
It's okay.
He's worried about the next
I didn't know
he's already playing the next one.
Yeah, right. And it works. I'm such a sucker.
I think something we should consider. I don't know how we would do it, but like having like a double blind, like not just the fog of war, but also like who we don't know whose character is who. I think that like would add an extra level of dynamism to it.
Yeah, I wonder how you could do that.
The thing was, we had this guy Joe coming at us, and I was like, I asked Jeffro, do I know who Joe is? And he's like, no, he's just Joe. Just don't worry about it. So I didn't know who it was. And then Macho Mandoff like messaged me, like, I wave, hi. I'm like, oh, okay.
So Macho and I were in secret communication as well. I was like, hey man, I've got medical too. And that means that if you need to take people on for low passage, I can help revive them at the end of the trip. And I still thought he had a ship and he was going to be able to get me out of there.
Okay, so you had medical too, and you still killed our characters. Fuck you, man.
He did revive R-Dubs.
Well, yeah. R-Dubs thought it would be hilarious if I revived him just to see Jeffro's face. But no, so
my non-existent merchant ship did me a lot of favors in terms of keeping people on side.
You had the non-existent ship. Gabe had non-existent psyker powers. It's crazy. So I am running towards the vehicle, and then gunfire erupts from one of the bushes. Joe ducks into his car, and I'm like, shoot, what do? Do I open fire on the bushes and protect my friends in the car? But I also, in the back of my mind, is the guy wants to squish me, and now I'm thinking he wants to take me out in the woods where nobody can find me and kill me and leave my body in the jungle, right? But I've still got Harmony, and I want to have an adventure with her, and I've still got Mike, and I want to have an adventure with him, and they may not know that he was going to double cross us all. And so I'm telling Jeffro, okay, I'm going to jump in the car. My rifle would not work in the tight confines, but I had that revolver, right? And R-Dubs is driving, and he's like, are you just going to jump in there and blow his head off? That'd be awesome. And I'm like, nah, no, I'm not. I'm going to give him a chance. I'm going to put my gun in his ear, and I'm going to say, get out of the vehicle and let him escape. Now, I may have said I was going to snatch his mask off on the way out, but I was going to shut the door, and because I was really burnt when he was going to...
That would have been a death sentence because the guys with the shotguns would have just blown him away.
Right.
They could have captured him. They could have brought him in alive. Now, it may have been my tip-off as far as where his vehicle was. I might have called the Baroness and said he's going to be in this location at this time. So it might be my fault that the thugs were there.
Man, I'm driving. Jeff was like, dude, Dunder is running out of the freaking bushes with a smile on his face like he wants to get picked up. Then the shotgun blasts start happening. I'm going, are these his freaking thugs? Like,
no, they were not my thugs.
No, I know they weren't, but that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, this is all planned out, right? Even though it all kind of happened, like this is how I had these conditions because
that's some Foam the Gnome stuff right there. Yeah. I'm in the middle of a plot. What is going on?
So I followed the trigger conditions, but at the last moment, I'm like, do I pick this guy up or do I run him over? So I threw a reaction roll, and it was friendly, so I picked you up. Man.
The dice, man, it's always the dice with this guy.
And it goes, and Jeffro goes, so Dunder has a gun to your head, and he's telling you get out of the freaking.
Well, here's my instructions, because Jeffro wanted me to just plug you.
Yeah,
and I was like, no, I would tell him get out of the truck, and then we would drive away, and hopefully the others understand what's going on in their.
No, I only wanted you to shoot him because we didn't have rules to cover how much talking you could do in a combat turn.
Yeah. Well, and I figured it would
I
be
didn't want
like
to bend the rules.
If you were seated and in front of me, it would be like that was when I asked him about the coup de grace rules, because I was like, he's seated and in front of me. He's not prone or anything. He's got his back to me. Do I need to roll the hit or could I just do it? And he said, if you shoot him now, coup de grace. But if you try to talk to him, he gets a chance, and then it's going to be a straight fight. And I was like, I want to give him a chance to jump out of the truck and live. And he just jammed on the gas and made everyone stumble.
And that's the thing. And I love the fact that it gave the -2 to the DM, the -2 DM. But I had a body pistol on me. I had a dagger. The body pistol wasn't much use because of the dexterity. The dagger's good, but I wanted to throw your shot off because I trusted Mike, man. I knew Mike would have my back.
You were right about that.
If I had lived through this. And unfortunately, your freaking dice were hot this whole game, dude. And even with the negatives, like you did it, those dice were hot, dude.
So my third revolver shot hits and the damage is high enough to drop you unconscious. And then it's like, oh crap, because when you went unconscious, the car coasts to a stop. The dudes with the shotguns, there's like 5 guys with shotguns closing with us. And I'm like, Harmony, you need to drive. And Mike, in just this moment of just sheer role play, murderer. And I'm like, you don't understand. He was going to betray all of us. He was going to run her over. He was going to run me over. He was playing us for fools.
You should have dealt with that later because
Yes.
seriously, you're like, you need to drive. I just killed the driver. Like,
well, I didn't want to sit down there and let Mike
ATV?
stab me in the head.
Well, the best part was you telling Mike that, hey, let's just go do this. I'll revive him later.
Yeah.
You're trying to plead with, dude.
I've got medical.
Dude, I knew you were going
to. You need to drive so that I can stabilize him. Was my argument.
There's no reason for you to believe
Well,
that I can drive that ATV.
Nobody could.
I give you no reason to believe that.
Fluid coulda. I shot the few people that could drive it.
Yeah.
So Harmony, you grabbed you like heave his body out of the way. You grabbed the wheel, and then you just like fumbled, right? Like you could not get a thing moving.
No. It took me around to move his body. I don't know if I could have driven it or not because I was shot in the head while I was trying.
So here's what my plan was for the next order. I told Macho, I was like, dude, it's almost the exact same thing. I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm probably gonna die, but if I don't, I need you to pick me up. And I told Jeffro, I'm gonna, because I knew Mike was gonna stab me. Like that was just a foregone conclusion. He was gonna gut me like a fish. And so I was like, I shoot at Mike and I jump out. I don't know what I just did to my. Oh, there it goes. I shoot at Mike and I jump out of the car, and I was, on my radio because Macho and I were on the same channel. I was like, I need you to come pick me up. Well, Jeffro was like, you can't do all that, man. In one round, you can shoot or you can try to move. And I was like, all right, I got to shoot because I knew he was going to hit me. Turns out Macho wasn't interested in coming to pick me up. He was just trying to beam Harmony through the windshield with his laser rifle while she was struggling with the controls. He's all like, hey, wave, smile.
Yeah, I was looking down range with my electronic sights, and it really looked as though Serena had got it. She had worked out how to drive.
Oh, that's nice.
So
Thank you.
her final moments, she was like, yeah, I put this stick into here, and I put my foot down here, and it's engaged, and then boom. Sorry about that.
And then the last thing that went through her mind was 8,000 watts.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'd said to Jeffro that the back of my sort of panel van was tricked out as like a firing platform. So I'm aiming backwards at everything, and I'm just there prone, picking off whoever I want. And I've already picked off a thug, right? So I'm trying to even things up. One for them, one for us. One for them, one for us. And so I really couldn't. I didn't get any benefits from any of that, but that was all my. That was how my character did stuff. So I could not see that I could get up from prone, get into my cart, turn around, and drive to pick you up in one. Go. I just couldn't see how that would be doable.
Neither of us had the movement, and you probably would have just squished me anyway, right? Like you would have just like bump on the way past.
I just wanted to go on. I just wanted to go on a jungle adventure with my friends.
I wanted a tiger pelt that I could fashion as a cloak.
Yeah,
never.
I think Jeffro should seriously consider rewinding and actually having a session of what would have happened if you guys had gone into the jungle, and I would have going to be following you. Right, that was my order.
If the blood fever had not taken the whole party.
Yeah.
Well, so anyway,
it's all you, Dunder. You were the fever.
But you could imagine that a session where it's actually a session and we've nominally got things we're all working together for, but we've also got many things that aren't. That would have been interesting to have in a session.
No, and that is what B-Dubs was talking about, on the last show. Leaning into that faction of one type of the uneasy alliance,
the never-ending Braunstein.
To be fair to you, Dunder, probably about 10, 15 minutes before this all started, I had started thinking about leaving you and Harmony in the jungle.
All right. Well, there you go.
I was not a part of the orders yet, but I had started thinking that like after this adventure, after I get this clue, because I think it's tied to this Baroness that wants to kill me because of some stuff Harmony said with her biplane, that's where my head went. And then this reaction roll, I wanted that information, and I think I would have ended up riding in trying to leave you there.
Right on.
The contract on your head had nothing to do with me. I know you think it did, but it really didn't.
Well, the other thing that we didn't say about R-Dubs though is he did a brilliant play in and of himself. When the bounty went out on his head, he put a bigger one on the Baroness. He said 8,000 credits to bring this girl in. She's corrupt. And like that was a power play. I really appreciated that.
It all came from Jeffro saying that the workers were disheveled and looked hungry, basically. I'm like, okay, we can play off of this fact that she's enslaving these poor people. So
yeah, we ran with a lot of like just one little liners. We just kind of ran with it. Yeah.
Well, so that's where we get to one of our words of the day.
Abductive.
Which is abductive reasoning. Abductive reasoning is a form of logical inference that seeks the simplest and most likely conclusion from a set of observations. It was formulated in a blah, blah, blah. So basically, you look at what just happened and say, what is the simplest explanation for this? And you let that be the thing that guides your role play. I spent the whole time fighting who my character was. In my head, I wanted him to not be a bad guy, but everything that he did suggested that he was the villain. I'm still just accepting that now, by the way.
Alexander McChris wrote up, I think, this in his book on role-playing and game mastery. And if not, then on one of his videos at least. He's the source of this term and its use in this context.
Okay, so abductive reason is going on, and you're trying to figure out. It's interesting because you're trying to figure out the world, and we're trying to figure out the game and how to win, and we're also trying to figure out who we are in response to what's going on. That's one of the things that makes it so immersive, and it's the opposite of the normal advice about writing a huge backstory and like making facial expressions and stuff. Is like you were it's just pure discovery on every dimension. So just long story short, get us to the end of turn 2. Mike hits with his sword. I hit with my fourth shot of my revolver. His sword does not drop me unconscious, but my revolver does drop him. And I'm like, Harmony, let's drive. I take my auto rifle and I go to the window slit and I'm trying to shoot the thugs and Harmony gets killed, and that's when I realized, okay, I can't trust Macho now because he just beamed her. So there's still there was 2 or 3 thugs left that were advancing with shotguns, and we're just sitting ducks out there. And I'm like, if I drive forward, I got Macho in front of me, and he's probably going to do something. I was like, I just got to try and turn it in a sharp turn and floor it. And Jeff was like, you don't have the skill. We need to figure out if you can even figure this out.
Wait, Dunder, did you have reflect armor?
I did. I had reflect under my cloth.
All right.
That's the max play in this scenario.
I'd figured that out by now because I suddenly realized everybody who had guns has probably got reflect on underneath their bloody armor.
Well, and I had a bonus for being inside the cab. So between the I think reflect is adds 7 to the difficulty, and then the cab was 3.
Reflect basically means put your laser away. Get something else.
Get something else. So I pulled it in a sharp turn. I tried to hit some thugs on the way past. I don't know if I hit him or not, but at that point, Jeffro was like, "All right, I think this is over because the Macho's gun can't stop him. It's an off-road vehicle, which Macho and I figured out later. Like his car was faster than the ATV, so he could have caught me if I stayed on the road. But if I went cross country, then I get away." And so it's exactly like I think Jeffro posted in the chat earlier, the Walter White in the mobile home. That was me escaping. Just like I got my mask on, everybody's dead, everything's loose and banging around, shotgun blasts all upside the ATV.
I will share with you though. Jeffro and I had a big back and forth in the rules, just to keep things on the level, because you were down to 1 strength, I wanted to make sure that
Oh
your
yeah, I got
weight-
hit with a shotgun blast because I was just barely conscious.
Yeah. So what I wanted to be sure about was that at 1 strength, if you've got more than 1 kilo on you, does that mean you are overweight and take another strength, and that would make you unconscious?
Huh. Interesting.
And we went back and forth about that and decided, no, it almost certainly doesn't apply. All the rules about it don't say current strength; they just say strength. So it should be, if you started off at 12, you can still carry 12, even though you're down to 1.
Okay.
But yes, I did try to pull that one out of my backside because I figured that would be so funny. He's only got a revolver and a couple of bullets, but that's enough to push him over 1 kilo, which would not be unconscious.
I mean, picking up the auto rifle might have done it, but I think I did that before they
we figured that you would throw away anything that you could throw away that would put you under. But if you had like the gun on your hip and stuff attached to you, you might pass out before you had a chance to do that.
So that's what happened to the ill-fated jungle trip. I didn't want to get in that car because I thought I'm getting in with 3 people who want to kill me. Turns out only 2 of them did, and I had to drop on one.
I didn't want to kill you, man.
Well, you sure did at the end. Murderer!
Shifting alliances.
But so that's how that. And then I turned in R-Dub's unconscious body to the Baroness for the reward, and that's I think how I won. But let's not forget, in good old fashioned Battle Braunstein tradition, let's ask, what's the icing on the cake, Jeffro?
That's all Gabe.
Gabe, what did you do while we were all killing each other?
I decided that I would try to pull off the most audacious heist in Traveler history, and that was not to steal a mere starship or some cash. I was going to steal B-Dub's starport itself.
Wow.
And my plan for that was pretty stupid, but I'm proud of it. And that was, I basically sent word to all the people of the town there and the workers at the starport, and just told everybody to go and just like take a piece of key machinery, because it's a Class C starport. It only has refueling capabilities and minor repair. So it's like, okay, that's going to be a very small amount of key equipment. I can just take this stuff. There's no ships coming to this planet anytime soon to bring more good equipment. It's not a high enough tech level for anybody to rebuild any of this. I'm just going to take everything that this starport needs to function and just move it to the Ariston estate and just set up the Ariston Municipal starport of Greater Moonshine. And along with that was a key realization on my part that starship fuel, and again, the starport's main function there is refueling. Starship fuel is pure hydrogen, or if it's unrefined, it's hydrogen with trace other things. And you know this because you can produce it from water, or siphoning it from hydrogen gas giants. So I basically decided that I would get as much of this starport as I could, and I felt that I would, being a moonshiner and or at least presenting myself as one, and offering these people a way to keep their starport but get it away from this crazy off-world African warlord who's like descended on and seized it all, that they would cooperate. And I would also make sure that at the end of the day, however much equipment I got, there would be nothing left. So my orders were, tell the people, strip every piece of key machinery you can, and then if you get any resistance or whatever, just blow it up. right? And we're going to blow it up anyway, even if we didn't get resistance. But and then I was stationed. I had a ridiculously high rifle score. I think I had like a 4 when all said and done. And so I was like, at long range, I'm shooting with a +7 or something like that with my electronic sights. So I just stationed to watch it. And really, I gave my orders and it led to some of just absolutely the most exquisite role-playing, not from me, but just as Jeffro is sending me screenshots of his interactions with B-dubs, trying to figure out this absolutely cockamamie plan where it's like all of a sudden, there's all these crazy natives running around and just like grabbing machinery willy-nilly. And he has no idea what is even happening because no one has ever tried to steal a starport before.
Man.
But I think Jeffro could honestly describe it better because he was, interacting with B-dubs through most of it. I was just like at my keyboard riveted. My 2 sons were just like, I promised to take them to a splash park later, and they're just, yanking on my shirt and throwing temper tantrums. And at one point there's just, screams because the 3-year-old has just whacked the 5-year-old with a foam sword in the face. And I'm just like zoning all of this out, just an inch away from my screen, reading these screenshots of what B-dubs is doing. Just like, is he going to figure out that these tanks are hydrogen or not? Is he going to figure out that he is sitting next to, 20 Hindenburgs or not? And
quiet, Daddy's playing imagination.
Yeah.
And well, there was the thing like when we killed Elric way back, right? Like there's this thing where someone's walking into a trap, but you can't just be like, rocks fall, you die, right? You have there's like to get someone to die in an RPG, you kind of have to give them some clues as to what's going on before the trap closes on them. And so that was so like I actually, this is I don't think this has ever happened to me before, but I'm adjudicating this by direct message, and I can totally see this scene. I've got the pieces that B-dubs had added to it, and I've got the stuff that Gabe had added to it, and then of course I've got the Traveler rules under kind of being the foundation, and then I'm introducing just a steady drip of each stage of the plan that Gabe set me, but when I do it, I'm transforming it into basically like an E.C. Tubb novel. It could have been a chapter from something like that. So like there's this one point where I'm like, I just wrote this scene. I'm like, yeah, you see the Argle bird in the sky, and
the Argle bird,
right? You hear its cry, and you can see its plumage, and you're like, it's a predator, a true predator, just like yourself, and I described the hydrogen tanks, the sun, and the evening sun glints off the hydrogen tanks, and you flick your cigarette, and B-dubs was like, man, I love my character. He's just so evil.
And the best part is he tried to call the steward several times during this scene. So several times B-dubs tried to make contact with the steward, but I'm actually at the scene watching it all with my scoped rifle. So he's just getting, messages, recording messages like, oh, if you'd like to leave a message for the steward of Ariston, wait for the tone.
You want to know something beautiful about this that I don't think either of you know, is that Harmony had mentioned that this Baron was legit from her flyover. And I had a conversation with B-dubs reassuring him that this dude was legit.
Oh, wonderful.
Literally had told him, look, here's some information. I think you're good to go here. You can trust this dude.
Nice.
Yes. Oh, that's perfect.
Right. So the final scene, it was like, how am I going to break the news to Dubs that now he as a game master, he gets confronted with these stupid player plans every week. And then he has to pretend like, oh yeah, well, the bad guys, yeah, they fell for it. Now you win, take your XP, go for it. And so he's finally on the receiving end of one of these things as a player, right? And he's still thinking about, well, on turn 3, I could do this or I could do that. So I'm like, oh yeah, well, somebody runs up to you and they get, the steward of House Ariston's called. Oh, really? Let me talk to him. Well, he's not on the line. He said to give you this message, and you open up the paper and it says goodbye.
Nice.
And that's when the hydrogen tanks exploded.
Yeah.
Boom.
That really was a thing of beauty.
Mhm.
So it sounds like the whole thing started with a botched robbery that led to death, and it ended with a successful robbery that also led to death.
Mhm.
I mean, it's Shakespearean. If you look at the dramatis personae, there's only like 2 or 3 characters that don't have red words scrawled all over them. Most of them got killed by a revolver.
I know we used a lot of Pulp Fiction memes, but I think the more appropriate movie is Snatch.
Okay, yeah, that's a great movie.
Comedy of errors and people miscommunicating and passing each other in the night.
I thought right from the start that it was a great move to take the starport for B-dubs, but it meant everybody knew where he was from then on.
Yep,
and
fixed his location.
Yeah, so he did well to kind of send his thugs off. That was projecting power. But I'd worked out that the longer the game went on, the more likely that scouts or pirates were going to show up, each of which were going to be unhappy with him. And I had a long-range communicator, which can talk to starships in orbit. So I was just ready to, if necessary, because we were neutral, but if necessary, if those guys had shown up, I could have called them in space and said, hey, the starbase doesn't belong to you anymore. You might want to land hot. So yes, but in the end, yeah, being where everybody knows you are is a very big limitation in these kind of games.
Yeah, that's how I got you in the Battle Braunstein, right? Is I hired an assassin to kill Elderbrecht because you were just chilling.
Elderbrecht could have gone to the Tyne.
Yeah, he didn't though.
Yeah, I was role-playing Elderbrecht as somebody who was really too old to leave town, but pure gamesmanship had me looking at every other place you could go on the map, and I really wanted to go to one that anything other than stay in town, but I decided no, and that cost me.
Somebody wanted to crash your ship into the starport. Somebody was talking to me about that.
I had if you had a real ship, I would have thought that would have been an epic way for Luther to go out, is to have Macho's ship crash into him at the starport. But turns out, wow, I didn't need to worry about that. Gabe had that on lock. So we're coming up on the end of our time here. At least we should be. It's like 2 hours in. How about we go around and because this felt special. And I don't know, I don't think I'm the only one that feels that way. It felt like we unlocked something else here, or maybe just realized something that was obvious all along. So if everyone could just share just briefly, 1 or 2 takeaways, what did you learn from this experience? And we'll start with Fluid.
Well, Dunder talks like he's all innocent and stuff, but he's like he's a real hard case, man. He's a psycho killer. I learned that. But as far as the game, it's I think it was really informative in regards to my upcoming Braunsteins that I plan to run in terms of gangbusters, because this was very much gangbustery in terms of people at cross purposes. But I think that's about it. I mean, I got unlucky, obviously.
I wish you could have played longer, and I'm sorry I had to take you out like that. If Jeffro had just let me steal everybody's crap. All right, Macho, you're next up on my clockwise screen.
Right. I just wanted to quickly go through. I started off. I went to bed thinking about a cool character name, and I was convinced I had one. And when I woke up, it was gone. And that blocked me from being able to think of a cool character name. So I started off with Joe Blow, and Jeffro didn't like that.
No,
So
the Black Ops Games guys would be all over me, man. They wouldn't let me forget it. Yeah, that's like tantamount to playing a Muppet.
So I got invited to play in one of their games for their new Kickstarter. Should I pick something awful, some awful Muppet name for him?
You should.
No,
right,
please.
Of course, of course.
So I tried to improve it, and so I went Joe Flanderest. And Jeffro didn't like that. So I said, well, I suppose do Mirandry's right out of the question, right? So I decided to lean into the character whose picture I ripped off. And for these Braunsteins, it's really great if you just base off a character that maybe has a fair few images online or video that you could just rip off a few expressions, because you can really make a lot of that with your little tweets and background stuff. And finally, when I negotiated, and Jeffro was so funny about this. I don't know if you realized how funny this was to read, Jeffro, but when I negotiated the hit, and there was lots of tense back and forth, and the Baron had to check with his accountant, could he afford to pay me the exorbitant funds that I charged? Because he only wanted to pay 6,000, and I was like, no, 35,000 or 40,000, whatever it was. And finally we agreed, and Jeffro says, just tell me your name isn't Joe Blow. So I grabbed Gelt, which is the picture that I've been going from the Battle Beyond the Stars of the assassin, which was a bit of a tip off as to my background, using that guy's picture, and a guy from the first Planet of Adventure book by Jack Vance. His name was Wander, who gets killed in the first 3 pages. So his name was Joe Gelt Wander.
Nice. All right, next up on my screen is our dubs.
All right, I just got a call from my daughter, so it's perfect. I got a jet, guys. But there was something special about this one because I'd never played with any of you before. And that really did add to what to expect and how to figure out how these people are going to play. And so I think that also like leans towards that everyone needs to pick themselves in alignment, whether that's part of the game or not, and actually play that character, because me not knowing who was playing what really did add to the mystery of the game. And it does a lot for those orders, and it does a lot for how you respond to various things that other people are doing. And so that was it. But I do got to run. Thank you all.
Thanks, man. Good having you. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Jeffro, for running this, man.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Harmony, you're up next.
I am?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I really enjoyed it playing with a new group. I kind of wish people had been a little bit more aware of my presence at the beginning. I also ended up looking up 36 things in the Traveler rules, so I feel like I have an okay idea of what I can do in Traveler combat now, which is nice. But I mean, to me, it seemed like a lot more battle royale-ish than I thought it was going to be, because my alignment at the beginning, I decided that I was going to be a good, innocent character that wasn't going to betray anybody, and I just wanted to go on a jungle adventure, and I just wanted the best for the planet, and you guys are monsters.
You have no idea. You have no idea how reassuring it was to me when you just grabbed the wheel and didn't try to stab me. So I
still wanted to go on our jungle adventure if we could. I was willing to forgive a little bit of murder.
Yeah,
it's okay.
We would have had a great time if it hadn't been for old Macho.
But no, so I picked that alignment because I decided that it seemed like everybody else was going to be just a villain. And I was like, no. There's got to be someone that just wants the best for the planet and the people and just wants to have a nice jungle adventure. And you know what? I think it added to the game, because I think the villains are so much more fun to play if somebody is trying to be a hero. So
well said.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right. The next one on my screen is Gabe.
Okay, so I would say it really, for me, comes down to this screenshot of texts between Jeffro and B-Dubs, which Jeffro writes, "You hear the cries of the Argelberg, the strange flying creature that is indigenous to this world. They are so large they have been known to capture and eat small children. You look up in the sky and marvel at the colors of its plumage. Such a predator, much like yourself, you think. You take a long drag off of your cigarette and flick it away. And what B-Dubs responds to that is, oh, that's cool. Although ominous, seems like a scene or thought right before I get sniped. Oh, okay, that's a little weird. Go, whatever, Jeffro, whatever.
So good. So good. All right, next up is a Scudder for Mike. Takeaways.
Yes, a couple takeaways. First of all, it was awesome getting to play with you guys. Thank you, Jeffro, for running this. I know it must have taken so much of your free time, so thank you. I think that whenever I'm playing something like this and I'm looking back retrospectively, I want to think about how can we improve it next time. And I absolutely was inspired whenever B-Dubs made that Twitter post in character, and he was memeing on X the entire time. And I think that if we leaned more into that, that was like super fun, because I wanted to get to know everybody's character, who I wasn't negotiating with. Like there was some people who I never got to talk to even once. So just getting to see like some of their online like role play would have been fun too. Let's see. Not knowing who is who, I think would be really nice, because there's a lot of big personalities and your reputations precede you. I know Mandolph had like targets on his back just for being Mandolph, and Harmony had one for her. I actually didn't want to cooperate with B-Dubs because of his reputation, and honestly his character was like super nice to me, and we could have taken that starport together. But I never even gave him a shot. Because I was like, no way, I'm not trusting B-Dubs. But yeah, I mean, I think it was really cool. It was really cool getting to play a new system, which I'm a big proponent of. I know like we're a lot of AD&D guys, but like I play all kinds of games, and so getting to test out Traveler and do a Braunstein in it was just an absolute blast. So thanks, guys.
Right on. I'll go, and then we'll give Jeffro the last word. One of the things that really struck out to me, and I'm like fluid in this. I'm trying to put together my own Battle Braunstein that is going to take place in Trilopulus, and it struck me how much like I'm not making a lot of headway because it's a lot of prep, and it struck me that a lot of the prep is not only wasted, it's worse than wasted, because it takes away some of the magic from the game. And one of the things that I feel like Jeffro really proved with this is how much it's on us as players to find that meaning and associate hidden connections between this. That's your other word for the day is another A word. It's apophenia. Apophenia is the tendency to perceive meaningful connections between unrelated things. And that is part of that secret sauce that keeps you glued to your phone, wondering what's going to happen next, who's behind what plots, and that kind of stuff. So, it's a hard thing to let go of prep. It's a hard thing to not over prep. But if you have a system that can generate stuff randomly for you and take that burden off, you're a fool to not lean on those, because the system will do a better job than you would have. So that's my takeaway. Did we get everyone? It's time now for the tribal leader with the final word.
You forgot Gabe. Did Gabe speak?
Yeah, I did. It was
okay.
B-Dub's
Yeah, that's right.
screenshot.
Well, when
sorry,
R-Dub jumped off, it re-scrambled the screen. So sorry if that confused you, Harmony. Go ahead, Jeffro. Final thoughts. And here's the thing: you look in the comment section, or not the comments, the description. Jeffro has done a great job blogging the receipts on this, and even just today did a huge FAQ section explaining the questions. So definitely hit that blog up. You're going to get way more out of it. A lot of the stuff we're talking about right now that might be head scratchers will make sense when you read it. But Jeffro, closing thoughts. Why was this special? What did you learn from this experience? And are you glad you did it?
Yeah, no, we basically zero preps a Traveler game, which I think if you had asked anybody before this, they would have said it was impossible, because the zero prep game style that we had in AD&D was possible because the appendices were so thorough in their tables. And here we had very little to go on. And I think the key is the remarkable design of Traveler, and especially the particular literary sources that it draws from. The random tables in it, the character generation and the world and everything else, it works together to just create things that your mind immediately can latch onto. The world generation system is described by Mark Miller or the game designer as being a prod for the imagination. And I think the best success of this game is everything about this game. I think was far more evocative and far more imaginative than really anything else we've experimented with or played with. Now when people ask me about Traveler, like what it is, what it's great, I say now like it is a game much more so than any other RPG, a game of the imagination, and a game where people are collectively working together to sort of fuse their imaginations. It's a very unique experience, and also from a campaign architecture standpoint here, we were doing stuff with Braunsteins this time that was very different than we've done in other Braunsteins. Just expanding the range of how we think about this and what we think of as being possible. As Brian Renninger just said, he's getting ready to run the Gangbusters game, which is also probably close to this vein. This is we're not done. There's every time we do one of these, it's going to be very different, and that's the beauty of the Braunstein form. It doesn't require a lot of game design, and it produces even the battle scenarios that are generated from it, because they have a real clear context, not just in the continuing campaign standpoint, but also in the imaginative standpoint of the structures of what we have in the Traveler rule set that are sort of driving things and influencing things. Everything just has more meaning. Everything is more real, and I feel like that gaming really lost something when role-playing games and war games went through a divorce sometime around 1980. Bringing these two strands of gaming back together and using Braunstein and timekeeping techniques to fuse them together and allow them to interact and generate each other and respond very quickly on the fly to player actions and input. This creates battle scenarios that people care about.
Yeah.
And you can't go to a game store and buy this in a box. You can only make this with your friends. Like right now, there is no product that does what we are doing with these games, and it's just really exciting.
Right on, man. Well, it was beyond a pleasure and an honor to play this game with all of you. Some of you I've played with quite often. Some of you, this was my first time getting a chance to roll bones with you. Thank you, Jeffro, for putting this together. Thank you guys for being up for trying it and for just totally ignoring a national holiday because what we were doing was so much more compelling. Also, I want to thank the viewers for paying attention to this stuff. I'm glad that I got to have this experience. I'm glad that I get to share it with you. And I'm glad that these are things that you don't just have to watch on YouTube, that you can take these principles and run them at your own tables. So read the blogs, watch the videos. If you want more of this kind of stuff, as Jeffro said, I'm sure we're not done talking about this kind of thing. And especially, I think there's more to plumb the depths of what we did. I think a lot of us are going to be processing it. Make sure to subscribe and come around for the next one. Thanks for being with us. Thank you guys so much for being on my show. This is Dunder Moose. And we'll catch you guys next time.